The whispers started the moment I walked through the door. 20 years after graduation, and I was still the outsider. But what happened next would change everything. My billionaire boss's arrival wasn't just unexpected, it was the moment my past and future collided in ways no one could have predicted. If you've ever felt like life dealt you an unfair hand, this story might just give you hope. Hit that like button and subscribe to see more real stories about unexpected second chances and the moments that redefine our lives. I adjusted my second-hand suit jacket one last time before pushing open the heavy oak doors to Westlake High's gymnasium. The banner hanging overhead read, Class of 2006, 20 years later, in garish blue and gold lettering. My stomach churned as I stepped inside, the familiar scent of floor polish and faded dreams hitting me all at once. "Dad, you look like you're going to throw up," my 16-year-old daughter Lily whispered, squeezing my arm. "We can still bail, you know." I forced a smile. "Not a chance, kiddo. I promised you a glimpse into your old man's past, and I keep my promises." That was the thing about being a single dad, promises meant everything. Ever since Vanessa had walked out on us when Lily was just 7, I'd built my entire life around one simple principle: be the parent who stays. The gym had been transformed with twinkling lights and tables draped in white linen, a far cry from the sweaty basketball games and awkward school dances of my youth. A DJ booth stood where the bleachers used to be, playing hits from the early 2000s that transported me back to a time when my future seemed limitless. "Jack? Jack Mitchell? Is that really you?" I turned to see Trevor Daniels, former quarterback and perpetual Pekin high school guy, approaching with a tumbler of something amber. He'd gained weight and lost hair, but his confident swagger remained unchanged. "Trevor. Good to see you," I lied, extending my hand. "Man, it's been forever. Heard you're working at Callahan Industries now. In the mail room or something?" His voice carried just enough for nearby clusters of alumni to hear. "IT department, actually," I corrected, feeling heat rise to my face. "This is my daughter, Lily." Trevor barely glanced at her. Right. Vanessa's kid. Speaking of which," he gestured across the room with his drink, sloshing liquid onto his shoes, "the queen bee has arrived." I followed his gaze and felt my heart stop. Vanessa Mitchell, no, Vanessa Harrington now, glided through the crowd in a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. On her arm was Richard Harrington, the real estate developer she'd left me for. The diamond on her finger caught the light, throwing tiny rainbows across the room. "Dad," Lily whispered, "is that your mother?" I finished, my mouth suddenly dry. Yes. We hadn't seen Vanessa in person for nearly 3 years. Her sporadic involvement in Lily's life consisted mainly of extravagant birthday gifts and occasional weekend visits that always seemed to get cancelled at the last minute. Each time, I'd hold Lily while she cried, promising myself I'd never let anyone hurt her that way again. "Let's go say hi," Lily suggested, her voice small but determined. "Honey, we don't have to." "I want to." Her chin lifted in that stubborn way that reminded me so much of myself. I'm not scared of her. But I was. God help me, after all these years, I was still terrified of Vanessa's power to wound. Not for myself, but for what she could do to Lily with just a careless word or dismissive glance. We made our way across the room, navigating through clusters of former classmates who either didn't recognize me or pretended not to. I'd been invisible in high school, the quiet, bookish kid who somehow managed to catch the attention of the most beautiful girl in school. Our whirlwind romance and subsequent marriage had been the talk of our small town, as had our messy divorce years later. Vanessa saw us approaching and whispered something to Richard, who smirked and straightened his Italian silk tie. Her smile was perfect, practiced, and completely devoid of warmth. "Jack," she said, air-kissing somewhere near my cheek. "What a surprise. I didn't think this would be your scene." "It's not," I admitted. "But Lily wanted to come." Vanessa's gaze finally landed on our daughter, and something flickered across her face, surprise, perhaps, at how much Lily had grown. "Lily. Darling, you look healthy." The slight pause before healthy spoke volumes. Lily, who had inherited my stockier build rather than Vanessa's willowy frame, stiffened beside me. "Thanks," she replied coolly. "You look exactly the same." Richard chuckled. "Botox will do that," he said, earning a sharp elbow from my ex-wife. "So, Jack," Vanessa continued, "Trevor mentioned you're working in IT now? At Callahan Industries? That must be interesting." The way she said interesting made it clear she found it anything but. I thought of my cramped cubicle, the long hours troubleshooting problems for executives who couldn't remember their passwords, the constant struggle to make ends meet while paying for Lily's braces and saving for her college fund. "It pays the bills," I said simply. "Well, that's the important thing, isn't it?" Richard interjected with false joviality. "Speaking of which, we just closed on our third vacation property in Aspen. You should see it, Vanessa's done wonders with the interior design." "Mom, I didn't know you were into design," Lily said, a genuine note of interest in her voice that broke my heart. Vanessa waved a manicured hand. "Oh, it's just a hobby. Though I did get featured in Architectural Digest last month." "That's great," I managed. "And what about you, Lily?" Richard asked, his attention suddenly on my daughter. "Following in your father's footsteps with computers, or more interested in your mother's creative pursuits?" Before Lily could answer, Vanessa laughed. "Oh, I doubt she's interested in either. Jack was always so basic. And I was always too ambitious. Weren't we, Jack?" The group of former cheerleaders standing nearby tittered. I felt my face burning, remembering all the times Vanessa had used that word during our marriage, basic. Basic job, basic ambitions, basic life. It had been her justification for leaving, she'd outgrown me. "Actually," Lily said, her voice stronger than I expected, "I'm captain of the robotics team at school. Dad taught me how to code when I was 10. Pride swelled in my chest, momentarily displacing the humiliation. But Vanessa merely raised an eyebrow. "How quaint. Though I suppose those skills might help you get a scholarship. God knows you'll need one, with what your father must be making." The DJ chose that moment to increase the volume, the opening notes of "Hey Ya" by Outkast drowning out whatever cutting remark Richard was about to add. But the damage was done. I could see it in Lily's eyes, the hurt, the confusion, the dawning realization of how her mother really saw us. "We should mingle," I said, placing a protective hand on Lily's shoulder. "Nice seeing you both." "Oh, Jack," Vanessa called as we turned to leave, "before I forget, Richard's company is looking for an IT manager for their new development. It's entry-level, of course, but it might be a step up from what you're doing now. I could put in a word." The pity in her voice was worse than any insult. I mumbled something non-committal and steered Lily away, my ears ringing with shame. "Dad," Lily whispered once we were safely across the room, "why did you ever marry her?" I sighed, watching Vanessa hold court among our former classmates, her laughter carrying over the music. "She wasn't always like that, Lil. Or maybe she was, and I just couldn't see it. When you're young and in love, you see what you want to see." "Well, I think she's awful," Lily declared, her loyalty fierce and unwavering. "And I'm glad I'm more like you than her." I hugged her close, grateful beyond words for this remarkable human I'd somehow helped create. "That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, kiddo." We spent the next hour avoiding Vanessa and Richard, making small talk with the few classmates who seemed genuinely interested in our lives. I introduced Lily to my old chemistry teacher, Mr. Abernathy, who was delighted to hear about her passion for science. For a brief moment, I thought we might actually salvage the evening. Then came the speeches. Trevor, as reunion committee chair, took to the makeshift stage and tapped the microphone. "All right, Westlake Wolves. Who's ready to howl about how far we've all come? The crowd cheered, fueled by nostalgia and open-bar courage. We've got doctors, lawyers, even a state senator in the house tonight. Trevor continued, pointing to various alumni who stood to acknowledge the applause. And of course, our very own Vanessa Harrington, whose interior design work has been featured in magazines nationwide. Vanessa gave a practiced wave as Richard beamed beside her. But tonight isn't just about celebrating success, Trevor said, his tone shifting to something more serious. It's about recognizing journeys. The paths we've all taken to get here. My stomach dropped. I knew what was coming before he even said my name. Take Jack Mitchell, for example, Trevor continued, gesturing toward me as heads turned in my direction. Jack's had a tougher road than most of us. Raising his daughter alone after his marriage ended, working his way up from nothing. Jack might not have the biggest house or the fanciest car, but he's got heart, folks. Let's give it up for the everyday heroes like Jack. The applause that followed was the worst kind, polite, pitying, the kind you give to a child who tried their best but still failed. I saw Vanessa whispering to Richard, both of them smirking. Lily's hand found mine, squeezing tight. And speaking of success stories, Trevor continued, oblivious to my mortification, we've got a special surprise guest tonight. A Westlake alum who couldn't make it to the reunion proper but wanted to stop by and say hello. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Callahan Industries, Alexander Callahan. The doors at the back of the gymnasium swung open, and a hush fell over the crowd. Alexander Callahan, billionaire tech mogul, philanthropist, and my direct boss for the past 6 months, strode in with the easy confidence of someone who owned not just the room, but the entire building. At 45, Alex Callahan looked more like 35, with salt and pepper hair and the lean physique of someone who made time for the gym despite running a global corporation. He wore a simple black suit with no tie, his only concession to wealth the platinum watch glinting on his wrist. Trevor, he greeted, taking the microphone. Thanks for the introduction. Sorry I'm late, board meeting ran long. The crowd murmured in excitement. Alexander Callahan was a legend in our town, the local boy who'd built a tech empire from his college dorm room and now employed half the county. His face had been on the cover of Forbes twice, and rumors of his personal life regularly made the tabloids. I wasn't actually planning to attend tonight, Alex continued, his gaze sweeping the room. High school wasn't exactly the highlight of my life. Most of you probably remember me as the weird kid always tinkering with computers in the library. A few chuckles rippled through the crowd. I remembered him, though we'd never spoken. He'd been a senior when I was a freshman, already marked for greatness with his early coding projects and perfect SAT scores. But when I heard this reunion was happening, I thought it might be a good opportunity to make an announcement. His eyes continued scanning the crowd until they landed on me. Jack Mitchell, where are you? Every head in the room turned toward me. Lily looked up in confusion as I raised my hand slightly, feeling like I was back in high school being called on in class. There you are, Alex said, smiling. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to the reason Callahan Industries' new security protocol has been implemented 6 months ahead of schedule, saving the company approximately $30 million and countless headaches. Murmurs of surprise rippled through the gymnasium. Vanessa's perfectly composed face showed the first crack of genuine shock. Jack came to us from a small IT firm last year, Alex continued. He was hired for basic tech support, but within weeks, he'd identified a critical vulnerability in our system that our entire security team had missed. Instead of just patching it, he developed an entirely new protocol that's now being implemented across all our platforms. I felt my face burning, but for an entirely different reason now. The project had been my passion for months, but I'd had no idea Alex himself had been paying attention. What Jack didn't know, Alex said, stepping down from the stage and walking toward me, is that I've been looking for someone to head our new cybersecurity division. Someone who thinks differently, who sees solutions where others see only problems. He stopped in front of me, extending his hand. Jack, I'd like to formally offer you the position of Chief Security Officer at Callahan Industries, effective immediately. The starting salary is $350,000, plus stock options and relocation assistance to our headquarters in Seattle, if you're interested. The room went completely silent. I stared at his outstretched hand, certain I was hallucinating. Mr. Callahan, Alex, please. And before you say anything, this isn't charity or a publicity stunt. I've been reviewing your work for months. You're exactly what the company needs. He lowered his voice slightly. Plus, I overheard what happened earlier. Some people peak in high school, Jack. Others are just getting started. With shaking hands, I accepted his handshake. The gymnasium erupted in applause, genuine this time, not the pitying kind from before. Lily was bouncing on her toes beside me, her eyes wide with excitement. Dad, she squealed. Oh my God. There's more, Alex said, turning to address her directly. Callahan Industries has a summer internship program for promising young coders. Your father mentioned your robotics team wins, and I'd like to offer you a spot. Paid, of course, with college credit. Lily's mouth fell open. Are you serious? Completely. We need more women in tech, and from what your dad tells me, you're already light years ahead of where I was at your age. I looked at my daughter's face, radiant with joy and possibility, and felt something shift inside me, a weight lifting, a door opening. For years, I'd measured my worth by Vanessa's standards, always coming up short. I'd believed her when she said I was basic, ordinary, not enough. But in that moment, I saw myself through different eyes, through Lily's eyes, through Alex's eyes, through my own eyes finally clear of doubt. I wasn't just enough, I was exactly who I needed to be. Across the room, Vanessa stood frozen, her perfect smile nowhere to be seen. Richard looked equally stunned, his earlier condescension replaced by naked calculation. I could almost see the wheels turning as he tried to figure out how to leverage this unexpected connection. But for once, I didn't care what they thought. We should celebrate, Alex said, clapping me on the shoulder. There's a great little place down the street, best burgers in town. My treat. Can we, Dad? Lily asked, practically vibrating with excitement. I glanced at my watch. It's getting late. Dad, Lily groaned, this is literally the coolest thing that's ever happened to us. We're celebrating. Alex laughed. She makes a compelling argument. As we turned to leave, Vanessa materialized in front of us, Richard trailing behind. Jack, she said, her voice honey-sweet, this is such wonderful news. We should all go out to celebrate, family and friends together. The word family in her mouth after years of absence made my blood boil, but before I could respond, Lily stepped forward. We already have plans, she said coolly. With Dad's boss. But thanks for the offer, Mom. Vanessa's smile tightened. Lily, don't be rude. I'm sure Mr. Callahan wouldn't mind if we joined. Actually, Alex interrupted smoothly, it's a business dinner. We'll be discussing confidential company matters. He checked his watch. And we should really get going. Reservations. Vanessa's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. Well, perhaps another time. Jack, we should talk soon about Lily spending more time with me. Now that you'll be so busy with your new position.